The biggest decision that has to be made in college football right now is when is the portal window and is there one, meaning portal window open, or two? That was Kirby Smart today down in Florida talking to reporters about, a lot of different stuff, but mainly about this one particular thing that is it's really gotten a hold of college football. It's made a lot of people that watch, shows like this, that read Dawg posts, that are interested in college football annoyed. And none more so than the coaches themselves, perhaps the players, but the coaches themselves. We have gotten to this point in college football and collegiate sports, generally speaking, in 2025, where there's been a little too much elasticity in things. We've gone too far, generally speaking. There needs to be some regulatory stuff that's going on. And Kirby's speaking to one thing that will settle stuff down, I would think, a lot, which is, hey, when's the portal? And let's establish that right away. Look, Kirby, I'll answer it for you. There should be one portal, and I don't know when the best time to have it. I would say probably at the end of spring, to be honest with you. But there just needs to be one. Doing this twice a season and recruiting, you could turn your roster over, in theory. Turn it over is the wrong way to put it. But 3 times. 3 times we're going to do this? No. Look, it's too much. And I want to say this, too, to people who aren't watching. People at the NCAA, Greg Sankey, Jerry Moorhead. I mean, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but y'all have been a part of letting this happen or allowing this to happen. I mean, let's not act like the big schools have done anything other than sort of stood by going, oh, well, we don't really know what. Look, someone's got to take the bull by the horns here and drive through realistic reform in this marketplace, because it's gotten out of control. And by the way, Jerry Moorhead has been or was the president of the NCAA for a period of time. So there's no point in having those sorts of positions if you don't have the body move with you. If you don't do real things, what's the point of being president? That's what I would say of that organization. Everyone's gotten us to this point, but it is time, and it's time to make some change here. There should be one portal window. People smarter than me would know when the best time to have it would be, but I would say with the college football playoff at this stage for college football, it should be at the end of spring or sometime in the, quote, off season, in the spring period. If signing day, we don't know when guys are declaring for the NFL draft until about the 15th of January, okay? Then you don't have your signing class until, I don't know, a month before that, something like that. Probably more like 3.5 weeks before that. In the midst of all of these things, you have a college football playoff that's going to get deeper and deeper. There's just too much there's been too much change in college football lately. And I'm a proponent of change, generally speaking. I will say that. But we've gotten a little bit over our skis with a lot of this stuff. NIL, yes. Transfer, I mean, for me, yes. Transfer the way that it is right now, no. And I mean, look, I've been through this, when I was in college. If you wanted to transfer to another school and play, you were talking about sitting out for a year. Thankfully, that's gone. When I was in college, we literally could not have, if you were on scholarship, we could not have jobs that paid. Okay, or if you had a job, you didn't tell anybody about the money that you got. I mean, nobody was snooping around. So we've just gotten a little over our skis with a few of these things, and it's time to settle this down. Now, the good news is this, if you've gotten this far in the video, the good news is this. The good news is, I was talking with a longtime friend of mine this morning, and he was asking about the state of college football, but I told him that the good news is this. Things are settling down. It might not feel like it right now because we've dealt with a lot of earthquakes since 2020. 2020, you had COVID. Are we going to play or are we not going to play? What are the rules going to be? Big Ten's only going to play 4 games or Ohio State in that case, whatever it was, 5 games before they get into the playoff. You had that. And then you had a season later, NIL is legal now. Now you can just do whatever. And transfer portal becomes wide open, whereas in the past, you could kind of manipulate it how you needed to or wanted to. But now it's just become a free-for-all, generally speaking, certainly in college basketball, but college football too. So we had all of those things. We had teams moving from one conference to the next, talking about Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. We had the Big Ten absorbing 4 West Coast schools, the West Coast's most prominent 4 schools athletically, at least in the big sports. There's been a lot of seismic changes in the last really 4.5 years. It's been a lot. And at this stage, we've got to slow things down. When I say we've got to, I'm not talking about the President of the United States. I'm not talking about any elected official. The schools need to establish through the mechanism that they already have with the NCAA and its bylaws, they need to use that organization for what it's worth. Say it to the people in the back. Everybody repeat after me. The NCAA is the schools. The schools are the NCAA. So when Kirby's talking about the biggest decision to be made in college football right now, that decision needs to be made, okay, by the schools. It's time. It's past time. And if you can't get it done with the NCAA, break off. You've got plenty of money without the NCAA basketball tournament. You can do your own thing. You'll be fine. No one cares about St. Peter's. Okay? Now, those of us that went to smaller schools, it will affect us for sure, but we'll have to survive. You know, it is what it is. But it's time. And if the SEC isn't going to lead, who's going to? The ACC? Like, really? The Big 12 swashbuckling with private equity money? Look, y'all, Greg Sankey, it's time, man. Y'all have got to I mean, and I understand that Greg is like multiple steps ahead of everybody. He knows things that I don't know and all that, and that's fine. But it is time to settle this down. Everybody's waiting on the House settlement to get done. I will say that a lot of smart people thought it would be done by now about 6 weeks ago. So there's not a certainty that we're at where we're at. We've got elected officials at the state level getting a little too big for their britches. That's not going to work. The rules have got to be the same at Alabama as they are at Georgia, as they are at South Carolina. I mean, you know, if Henry McMaster is going to go crazy with something and then Brian Kemp one-ups him and then Kay Ivey's doing things, these are governors. I know y'all don't know who they are, generally speaking, because you know Shane Beamer is the coach at Carolina, Kirby at Georgia, and Kalen DeBoer. But those are actually the elected officials that sign bills into law, and they need to be out of this. We don't need Brian Kemp's input on a state level when all it's going to do is force Tennessee or Missouri to go over the top of that. We cannot continue this. This is up to the schools. They need to get this done. Okay? So, if you're a leader, Kirby or Dabo or guys that have been around the block for, 10 years or whatever, multiple championships, winners, people that are respected in the industry, someone needs to put their, shoe on the table, Middle Eastern dictator style, and get step 1 done. We don't need to establish any longer that there's a problem. We know there's problems. It's the hardcore fan base of college football. You don't want it to go. You do not want this to wind up like NASCAR and baseball, okay? You don't want this to necessarily turn out like wrestling in a way. You want to make the right decisions. What's the right decision right now? You've got to settle in, get this House settlement done. Everybody's waiting on that. There's only so much everyone can do on that front. However, on the NCAA transfer portal, the NCAA transfer portal, not the, United States Senate. No, it's the NCAA transfer portal. Make it happen. If it doesn't stand up in court, then you go on to fight another day. But you guys are great at, I'll just say it, y'all are very good at collusion, if you want to call it that. I don't know that I would call it that. Y'all are great at being in cartels. And it's time for all the cartels to get together and establish the actual rules moving forward. If it's the $20 million payment because of the House settlement, good. If it's putting players into unions, that we've got to quit acting like that's not a real thing. Because for a long time, we were talking about academics, and we know that's a total bunch of bullshit, or it was. So it's time to get this all settled in to where you don't have the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Vols just checking out because he's not getting what he wants, and he's renegotiating every single season. These contracts don't seem to mean much of anything. For all the smart people surrounding this, for all the people who care about this so much, it seems like no one's willing, including Nick Saban, to get out and get this done. It's time. It shouldn't always have to be Greg Sankey, but if it is, it is. And, look, I don't know. I don't think Greg's any sort of idiot at all, but I do think he's got a lot on his plate. He can't be the czar of college football. I will say this, not that long ago, probably 3.5 or 4 years ago, I was talking with a person in the bowl world, and this was a pretty big person in bowl world. Okay, so they said we've got to have a czar of college football. This has gotten out of control. This is stupid. And that was 4 years ago. So the problem is there's so many fiefdoms, there's so many little kingdoms, and they're huge in their world. But, the rules that Georgia plays by have got to basically be the same rules that Kansas State or Kansas play by. We're not necessarily at that point yet. That's not good for the health of college football. I'll say that. That's not good for the health of college football, basketball, whatever. And as a person who lived it, played it, we need collegiate athletics. They're really important. It's not just for Gunnar Stockton, and there's a lot of people that are playing that you've never heard of that are getting massive experience and exposure and learning toughness and all of these things out of it. Collegiate athletics is one of the most important things that's ever happened in my life. And I think that I make a living off of covering it and have done so for a quarter century. But we've got to get this right. We all know everyone's identified the problem. When is someone going to put the right foot on ice and see if it shatters or not? It's time. It's time. Let's get this done. Thanks for watching.